Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about transmission flushing. This is a process that can help to extend the life of your transmission and keep it running smoothly. I'll be going over the cost of transmission flushing, as well as the process itself. So if you're interested in learning more about this important maintenance task, keep watching. A transmission flush is a maintenance procedure that involves removing the old transmission fluid and replacing it with new fluid. This can help to improve the performance and longevity of your transmission. The cost of a transmission flush can vary depending on the make and model of your vehicle, as well as the type of fluid used. However, you can expect to pay anywhere from $150 to $300 for this service. Several factors can affect the cost of a transmission flush, including the type of transmission fluid used. Synthetic fluids are typically more expensive than conventional fluids. The labor rate of the mechanic. The labor rate will vary depending on the location and the mechanic's experience. The accessibility of the transmission. Some transmissions are more difficult to access than others, which can increase the labor cost. Several factors can affect the cost of a transmission flush, including the type of transmission fluid used. Synthetic fluids are typically more expensive than conventional fluids. The labor rate of the mechanic. The labor rate will vary depending on the location and the mechanic's experience. The accessibility of the transmission. Some transmissions are more difficult to access than others, which can increase the labor cost. A transmission flush can be an effective way to improve the performance and longevity of your transmission. However, it is important to note that this is not a necessary service for all vehicles. If your transmission is working properly, you may not need to have it flushed. It is recommended that you consult with a qualified mechanic to determine if a transmission flush is right for your vehicle. They can help you assess the condition of your transmission and recommend the best course of action. A lot of people think that a transmission flush and a transmission fluid change are the same thing, but they're not. A transmission flush is a much more involved process that involves using a machine to pump out all of the old fluid and replace it with new fluid. A transmission fluid change is a simpler process that just involves draining the old fluid and refilling the transmission with new fluid. So, which one is right for you? If your transmission is working fine and you just want to keep it in good condition, a transmission fluid change is probably all you need. But if your transmission is starting to slip or shift hard, you may need a transmission flush. A transmission flush should be done by a qualified mechanic who has the proper equipment. The process typically involves the following steps. The mechanic will connect the transmission flush machine to your transmission. The machine will pump out all of the old fluid and replace it with new fluid. The mechanic will then start the engine and run the transmission through all of its gears. The mechanic will check the fluid level and add more fluid if necessary. The type of fluid that is used for a transmission flush is important. You should use the type of fluid that is recommended by the manufacturer of your vehicle. Using the wrong type of fluid can damage your transmission. The frequency with which you should have your transmission flushed depends on your driving habits and the type of vehicle you drive. If you drive a lot in stop-and-go traffic, you may need to have your transmission flushed more often than someone who drives mostly on the highway. You should also consult your vehicle's owner's manual for the manufacturer's recommended maintenance schedule. It is important to find a reputable service provider to perform your transmission flush. A reputable service provider will use the correct type of fluid and will follow the proper procedures. They will also be able to diagnose any problems with your transmission and recommend the appropriate repairs. A transmission flush is an important part of maintaining your vehicle. It can help to extend the life of your transmission and prevent costly repairs. If you are thinking about having your transmission flushed, be sure to do your research and find a reputable service provider.